The Jordan Show on YouTube. This episode brought to you by Planet Forward, premier provider of climate solutions. See them at www.planetforward.com.
So you ready to dive into some serious fashion upheaval?
Always up for a good shakeup, especially when it comes to something as impactful as this new California law.
Right. This Responsible Textile Recovery Act of 2024, it's a big deal. And I bet our listeners are eager to unpack it all.
Absolutely. It's a pretty groundbreaking approach to tackling textile waste.
No kidding. Remember that stat? 1.2 million tons of textile waste just in California back in 2021? That's just wow.
Yeah. And this act, it really takes aim at that problem with this whole extended producer responsibility thing, or EPR for short.
EPR, yeah. It's kind of like saying to the fashion industry, hey, you made it. Now you deal with it.
Basically. It's about holding producers accountable for their product's entire life cycle, even after they're sold.
No more passing the buck, huh? But EPR, that's really just the start of it, right? This act gets pretty specific.
It does. It lays out a whole framework for how companies need to handle textile waste, and it casts a wide net, too.
Oh, yeah. Wider than just clothing companies, then.
Way wider. We're talking footwear, accessories, even the companies actually producing the textiles. They're all in the spotlight now.
So, even if a company isn't based in California, they still have to play by these rules.
As long as they're selling their products to Californians, yep, they've got to get on board.
Wow, it's a pretty big ripple effect then. I bet companies all over are scrambling to figure out what it all means for them.
Oh, absolutely. But look, we can break it down, make it a little less daunting. What do you say we start with the key things? Right, exactly. Working together to figure it all out.
But there must be some guidelines, right? It can't just be a free-for-all.
Oh, there definitely are. The Act, it lays out a clear timeline for everything. Companies, they've got until the beginning of 2026 to either form their own PRO or join one that already exists.
Start of 2026. Okay, got it. So deadline 1, join a PRO. What's next?
Then, by the middle of that same year, they need to have their whole comprehensive plan for textile recovery all ready to go. Submitted to CalRecycle for approval. That's the state agency overseeing it all.
CalRecycle, right. Okay, so we've got a tight timeline here. And these comprehensive plans, I imagine they're pretty in-depth.
Oh, they're comprehensive for a reason. It's not just a quick outline. They need to cover everything.
Like what? Give us an idea.
Well, for starters, they've got to set up a system for collecting all these textiles. We're talking drop-off bins, maybe mail-in programs, things like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Gotta get those clothes back somehow.
Right. Then there's the whole logistics side of things. Transporting the textiles, sorting them, figuring out how to process them. It's a whole operation.
Sounds complicated.
It can be, definitely. But the Act, it doesn't stop there. It goes beyond just collecting and processing, actually. It puts a real emphasis on reuse and repair as top priorities.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about keeping textiles out of landfills. It's about keeping them in use.
Exactly. That's the goal here. It's like, that reduce, reuse, recycle thing, but on a massive scale.
Right. Reduce, reuse, recycle. I get it. So it's all tying into that whole sustainable fashion movement, huh?
Absolutely. It's no longer just a trend. It's becoming a core value.
All right. So we've got the who, the what, the when, but how about the how? How's all of this going to be funded?
Well, that's where the whole EPR concept really comes into play. The producers themselves are the ones footing the bill.
Ah, makes sense. They're the ones responsible, so they pay.
Right. It'll be through fees based on their sales volume here in California.
Okay, so the more they sell, the more they contribute. Simple enough.
Well, it's a little more nuanced than that. The Act, it takes into account if a company is already doing good things for sustainability. And the cost of managing different types of products, that plays a role too.
So it's not just a blanket fee, it's tailored to each company's situation. Interesting.
It is. There's an incentive there, you see, for companies to really step up their sustainability game.
Makes sense. Reward the good guys, so to speak. But here's the thing. All of this sounds great in theory, but how do we actually know companies are going to follow through?
That's where transparency becomes super important. The Act requires each PRO to submit annual reports to CalRecycle showing how they're doing.
So, like a progress report.
Exactly. They'll track all sorts of data, things like product volumes, recovery rates. It's all got to be out in the open.
Okay, so accountability is built right in. I like that. It really feels like this act could be a game changer. What do you think? Are there any big hurdles companies will face as they try to get compliant with all this?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is figuring out exactly which products are covered by the Act. It's not always crystal clear.
Right, right. We said it goes beyond just clothing, so I can see how that could get tricky.
It can, and a lot of companies, they don't really have much in place right now for end-of-life management. They're basically starting from scratch.
Yeah, it's a whole new way of thinking about a product's life cycle, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
And it's not just about logistics either, right?
Definitely not. Data is a big piece of this puzzle, too. Companies need to be able to track everything really carefully so they can report on their progress accurately.
So we're talking serious data collection here.
Absolutely. And that's not something that just happens overnight. It takes time to get those systems in place.
This is way more than just setting up a few collection bins, huh?
Oh, yeah, way more. This act has the potential to change how companies design their products from the very start.
Now that's where things get really interesting. Let's talk more about that.
It really does. I mean, think about it. The act pushes companies to really understand the full environmental impact of their products. Not just what happens when it's being made, but like all the way to what happens when the product's at the end of its life.
So it's a complete 180 from how things are done now.
Pretty much. Designers, they're going to have to think about things like durability, how repairable something is, can it be recycled, all that right from the get-go.
Wow, it's like the whole industry's going back to school. Circularity 101, pass or fail. But seriously, where do they even begin?
Well, lucky for them, the source material we've got, it actually lays out a pretty handy step-by-step guide.
Oh, good. So there's a roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. We've already touched on some of the first steps, like figuring out which products are covered and taking stock of what their current end-of-life strategies even are, if they have any.
Right, right.
But there's more. Companies should also be diving into life cycle assessments for their products.
Okay, life cycle assessments. Sounds important. What are those exactly?
Imagine like you're tracing a product's whole journey from the very start when its raw materials are dug up or harvested all the way to its final stop. Whether that's a recycling plant or even better, it gets a second life through reuse.
Okay, I'm following. So a life cycle assessment, it's like looking at each step in that journey.
And at each step, you're figuring out the environmental impact. It's like taking inventory.
Hmm.
Raw material sourcing, how's it manufactured, transportation, how long does the consumer use it, then what happens at the very end.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Oh, it is. It can be a real mountain of data for companies to wrap their heads around. But the cool thing is, once they do, the insights are super valuable.
So it's not just about gathering data for the sake of it. It's about actually using it to make decisions.
Exactly. Companies can pinpoint the areas where they can really make a difference. Maybe swap out materials for something more sustainable or find ways to be more efficient in their manufacturing process, all kinds of things.
So these life cycle assessments, they could even lead to actual design innovations,
Yeah.
new ways of doing things.
Absolutely. Sometimes you don't realize that a certain design choice makes something harder to repair or recycle. So they can start designing things to be more durable, more easily repairable. Designed for circularity from the beginning. It's a shift in mindset.
Totally. So we've talked about how this is good for the planet, but what about for business? Is there an upside for companies to embrace all of this?
For sure. That can be. Some companies might find that by using more sustainable materials, their costs actually go down over time. Others might find they attract a whole new customer base, people who care about where their clothes come from.
Yeah, more and more people are paying attention to that. It's not just a niche thing anymore.
Right. And that consumer awareness, it's only going to grow. A lot of folks are realizing that their choices, they matter.
It's like a whole voting with your wallet kind of thing.
It is. And the companies that are, out in front of this embracing the change, they're the ones that are going to succeed in this new world.
It feels like California is kind of leading the charge here, setting the example for everyone else. Do you think this could, inspire other states, maybe even federal legislation down the line?
I wouldn't be surprised. They're making a statement with this act, that's for sure. And the impact, it could be huge.
Imagine nationwide shift towards circularity in the fashion industry. That would be amazing.
It would be. But hey, it's not just a U.S. thing either. The EU, they've already got some tough regulations on textile waste in place.
So there's global momentum building.
Yeah, it's really picking up steam. And it's not just governments either. You've got consumers pushing for change and all these innovative companies popping up everywhere.
Like a perfect storm, but in a good way.
Exactly. There's a sense of urgency, but also a ton of opportunity. And this act, I think it's going to be a big catalyst for moving things in the right direction.
All of this is honestly really eye-opening. I'm already looking at my own closet differently.
That's great to hear. Even small changes can make a big difference, honestly.
So for our listeners who are, ready to jump in, what are some things they could do? Where do we even start?
Honestly, one of the simplest, most effective things is just to buy less. Do you really need that new thing, or can you make do with what you've got?
It's about being more mindful, right?
Exactly. And when you do buy something new, try to choose stuff that's made to last. Look for sustainable materials and do a little research on the brands. Are they transparent about where their stuff comes from, what their practices are?
It's like, putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Supporting the companies that are doing the right thing.
Exactly. And don't forget about the power of repair. Mending your clothes, altering them, all that, it can give them a way longer life.
I love that. Repair, don't replace.
Right. There are tons of resources out there to help you learn those skills. It can be fun, and it'll save you money in the long run.
It's like giving your clothes a second chance.
Yeah.
And hey, what about when you are done with something? What then?
Don't just chuck it in the trash. Look into donating it, or maybe try selling it secondhand.
Keep those clothes in circulation.
Exactly. The more we do that, the better. Less strain on the planet. It's a win-win.
This has been amazing. A real deep dive into the Responsible Textile Recovery Act.
It's been fun chatting with you about it. I think we're at a really interesting point right now. Lots of positive changes happening.
I agree. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about the possible downsides of this act. You said there could be unintended consequences. What did you mean by that?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential for good here, but it's important to be aware of potential challenges too. For example, one thing that worries me is the cost. All this, complying with the act, it could hit smaller businesses pretty hard.
That's a really good point.
Hmm.
We were talking a lot about big companies, but what about the little guys? The independent designers, small boutiques, the startups. Could this make it harder for them to even get going?
It's a definite possibility. I mean, think about it. Joining a PRO, setting up all these new systems, that's not cheap. And for a small business with limited resources, it could be a real struggle.
Those are the tough situation, right? We want everyone to move towards sustainability, but we don't want to shut out the little guys in the process.
Exactly. Finding that balance is going to be crucial. We need to make sure this transition to a circular economy is fair for everyone.
Absolutely. Are there any other potential downsides we should be keeping in mind?
Well, there's always a risk of greenwashing. As sustainability gets more popular, more mainstream, some companies might try to jump on the bandwagon without actually making real changes.
So it's like buyer beware.
Pretty much. Consumers are going to have to be savvy about it, look beyond the marketing, do their research, and see if a company is truly walking the walk.
And that's where those annual reports to CalRecycle come in, right?
Exactly. Those reports, they're going to be key for holding companies accountable, giving consumers the info they need to make good choices.
It feels like we're moving towards a whole new level of consumer awareness.
I think so. And that awareness, it's what's going to drive real change. At the end of the day, companies, they respond to what consumers want. So the more people care about sustainability, the more the industry has to adapt.
This whole conversation has been incredible. We've learned so much, from the nitty-gritty details to the big picture stuff. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that we're at a pivotal moment. The fashion industry, it's changing. This act, it's a huge step in the right direction. But it's not the finish line, it's just the starting point.
It's a call to action, really.
It is. It's going to take all of us working together, brands, policymakers, consumers, to really make this shift to a more sustainable way of doing things.
I love that. A huge thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive. It's been enlightening, to say the least.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep learning about this. Dive into the resources we've got in the show notes, connect with organizations doing great work in sustainable fashion, and most importantly, think about how you can make a difference. Even small changes add up.
Absolutely. The future of fashion is in our hands. Let's make it something we can all be proud of.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll catch you all on the next Deep Dive.
Thank you for watching. For more information about climate solutions, visit www.planetforward.com.